right. So topic number 6, taxes, unpaid taxes.
Oof.
What happens when people don't pay their taxes and they own the property with like 100 other people? What happens?
The government wants their money. The government wants their money.
Nothing certain but death and taxes. Yeah.
Yeah. So anybody that owns real estate, of course, you're going to have to pay property taxes. And if you don't pay the property taxes, the local government has the right to put a lien on the property and then sell the property in order to recoup the delinquent taxes, attorney fees, etc. So
how common of an issue is this?
It's very common. I would say that people's circumstances, of course, their ability to pay is a factor. But then when we're talking about heirs property owners, it could be a mixture of reasons why people aren't paying. They may not even know that they own heirs property. They may not know how much the property taxes are. I mentioned before that I own heirs property with my siblings, and for the life of me, I cannot understand why the county conflates my information with my siblings' information. So the bill that we get has part of my name and my brother's address, but also part of my sister's name.
Wow.
In it. And it's like, there are 3 people who own the property together. We have listed the address where these bills should be sent. I mean, we access them online anyway. But anyway, the point is, so a lot of people don't know how much they owe. A lot of people don't even know that they own the property. And sometimes people can't afford the property taxes. So I had a family where they had heirs property, and it didn't even have 10 acres. And it was in a rural county, and the property taxes every year had been like, maybe $100. Well, then suddenly last year it tripled. And it tripled because the tax assessor determined that the mobile homes that they had on the property were part of the value of the real estate. And that's a whole other issue, in terms of how mobile homes are treated. But typically mobile homes are not part of the real estate. There are steps you have to take to legally affix it to the land. And so something that I've seen is people's property taxes have gone up because tax assessors are like, there's a mobile home on it. It's been on there a long time, so let's just count it.
They think the time is what's affixed.
Yeah. I mean, in my view, with that particular family, I don't feel like the assessor had met the requirements by law, because they do have some authority to do that, but they had not followed that. Anyway, so when you don't pay property taxes, it can be sold. A lot of times with heirs property owners, you'll have family member owners who are paying on behalf of others. And when they do that, not only is the money owed by your co-owners increasing, but so is the resentment. Mm-hmm. And so it's the entitlement. And so the problems begin to multiply. Not only are we dealing with unpaid taxes or taxes that are too high, we're also dealing with conflict and resentment and just family issues.
Yeah, no, I had someone reach out to me and say, oh my God, the tax assessor has now assessed our property to over $1 million.
Yeah.
Can you help me? And I'm like,
Wow.
And I think they ended up getting like some comps and another like survey. But I mean, essentially, they're going to have to come up with the money to pay the taxes on that. And I think it really clicked for me, like as a new homeowner, I'm like, okay, right now it's wrapped up in escrow and with the mortgage payment.
Yeah.
But over time, once it gets paid off, and let's say there's more of the area around the surrounding areas developed and built up, and those taxes rise, and we don't have a mechanism in place like we do now, we are going to have to come up with a lump sum of money to pay those taxes. And it clicks, because that's a lot of people's situation.
Yeah. The
more time that passes, and especially if you've already got the home that you're living in, and then you have this separate heirs property, like you said, it might be out of sight, out of mind, and you might not even think about the taxes on, that land, and it could substantially climb overnight, it feels like.
And I feel like states that don't have income tax typically have higher property taxes.
Right.
And so when you're thinking about succession planning and thinking about the future of this property, if your property is in a state where they do typically have higher property taxes, that's something you need to think about in terms of, whether your family members, your heirs are going to be capable of managing that, because you could actually lose the property because they can't afford it. I was talking to someone recently and they said that their family, their heirs property, the property taxes were $20,000 a year. I'm like,
wow.
And it wasn't even like being actively used. You talk about a disincentive to keep property or to steward it. Yeah.
And I'll be honest, every time I'm at I was at the airport, at the courthouse, I see people looking at that board to figure out who's delinquent, what property can they snatch up today.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So.
There was a case, and I hope I'm not messing up the details, but there was a case in New York in which it was a brownstone in Harlem, and it had been in this family's in this family since like the 40s or 50s, and the property taxes were incredible, and the family had gotten behind. They would pay some, but they couldn't pay all of it. And so this unscrupulous investor not only bought, like, he really forced the other family members. He paid off the taxes, which I feel like they were like, they may have been in six figures, but he paid off the taxes and then went to the family members who weren't living in the property to say, hey, you owe me this and you should just go ahead and sell me your share.
Wow.
And that's how he was able to buy most of the interest in the property. There were a few holdouts, but then by then there was so much debt, they ended up selling.
That sounds so predatory.
Oh, very predatory. And it was like some LLC that was owned by some LLC, owned by some LLC. They bought the property using this tactic of like paying off the property taxes and then buying some of the shares. They did nothing, like no improvements, and then sold it for $500,000 more later.
Wow.
Like they got like 100% return.
That's
or maybe even more.
That family probably lost land that was in their family for generations.
Yes.
Oh,
yeah. Man. Yeah. So unpaid taxes, property taxes, special assessments, those can all be big problems for heirs property owners. And I do think, if you are connected to policy or doing policy work or working with heirs property owners, it is important to look at hotspots, concentrations of heirs property in your areas, and also compare that with what's happening in the real estate market. Because anytime we see emerging real estate markets where there's intense competition for real estate, we often see more wealthy owners coming into the community, and then the property taxes are going up, and that has an impact on those heirs property owners.
Wow.
It
just frustrates me, and it makes it just challenging to hear that people are losing this legacy just simply because they can't afford to pay the taxes.
Yeah, I do think that there are things that governments can do to make that not as impactful. I do agree that government should be able to levy property taxes. That's how we have like some of the resources we have. But I do think they could provide a way of offsetting the impact of those increasing values to support generational family land. Because when you have families losing property to tax foreclosure, we're also losing affordable housing. So,
absolutely.
The government's going to get harmed another way through that issue.
And that's when we talk about lack of resources, that's one thing that I hope that we will get more resources towards.
100%.
Yeah.